likes me. Nobody likes me. But that's okay, because I don't like y'all anyway. And I don't like y'all anyway.
We need to pay attention to all this stuff. And don't muddy the waters. Don't let your mind get sidetracked. Because you need to remember that when, it's going to be time to vote again soon. So it's going to be local elections, all this stuff, everything, all these elections. You have to remember that the Republicans would rather collude with Russians than collude with Americans.
Them Staten Island niggas still puffing them dust blunt.
Donald Trump is a white supremacist who enables white supremacists. No lie. I mean, that's accurate. It's an accurate assessment of the situation.
Them Staten Island niggas still puffing them dust blunt.
Dragnets. How do they work? Just say no. Yeah. Here's the problem with just saying no. You can go about your life trying not to do drugs, but you turn on the news and you see Wigmaster over there talking about public health emergencies. That's why drugs are hard to stop. Because of people like that. Big week. It's always a big week. Can't we please have an uneventful week? That's all I want. All I want is one.
Them Staten Island niggas still puffing them dust blunt.
Oh, Jay, why are you wearing that resist shirt? What are you resisting? Bunch of isms and trees. Bigotry, misogyny, racism, fascism, and sexism. The people here are the people on the South Shore, in the rich neighborhoods, the richer neighborhoods, not the poor neighborhoods, are brought up on bigotry, hatred, and classification of, societal roles. Hey, yo. Who's in the house? Dyze in your house. What goes on, peeps? Jay Porks here, back to another action-packed edition of Dyze in your house. If you don't know by now what this be about, this is the prelude, the pre-show, and the post-show to the Jay Porks podcast that comes to you weekly, every week, usually Mondays, usually around 7 o'clock. What we do on Fridays is we sit down and we chop it up a little bit. We sit down and we chop it up about all the things that, really can't fit into an hour podcast on the weekend. The thing is that anything over an hour is really going to get hard. It's going to be difficult to get people to listen all the way through. So what I do is I try to do things, I try to break it up. So right here, every Friday on YouTube, and of course, never forget on the iTunes app. On iTunes via the podcast app, you can search Least Coast Radio. You can search Jay Porks. You can search Dyze in your house. If you're a long-lost family member of mine, you could search my government name. Because the only way you're going to know how to spell it is if you are a long-lost family member of mine. It is Dyze in your house. We resist every Friday. We resist on the Jay Porks podcast too, but there's a lot of resisting going on, so we need to break it up into things. I'm going to talk about Republican conspiracy theories in a second. I know we talked about it last week on the Jay Porks podcast, and for all that, you can go to jporks.com and get all your latest Jay Porks podcast related things. If I'm a guest on anyone's show, if I start a new show, if I have a new episode, you will get it if you just keep it locked to jporks.com. It's my name, so it's not hard to forget. Okay, got a couple of questions from the Twitter machine, from the Twitter and email machine, so I just want to address them quickly. So first, as random boxes fall down, I'm not editing this. So first, people want to know if I'm ever gonna, somebody asked if I'm ever gonna, say things that are funny again. If I'm ever gonna, be fun. The answer is no. Check back with me after the midterms, and we'll see. Also, somebody wants to know if there is, website issues with ConcertConfessions.com. Whose attention would they bring that to? That would be me, and, because I suck at life. Also, somebody wants to know what reluctant paraprofessional means. Bump. I really love that break in the beat. in my Twitter bio it says reluctant paraprofessional. Somebody wants to know what that means. They know what what para means. They don't know why I'm reluctant to do so. So I'll quickly quickly go through it. Well, my whole life I've never been a school guy, but now I'm sitting here, 30 whatever years old, and a couple of years ago I was waiting tables. My life was, living on that $3 an hour, telling a joke, hoping to make $5 on a tip for dinner. Working pasta night. That's what it was. Then I saw all my friends who had dropped out of high school, who had been more juvenile delinquency in class than I was, in high school than I was, in school than I was, been arrested more times than I have, break more laws than I do. I saw they're all paras in public school, making like $1.20 a day. So I was like, $1.20 a day to sit in class? I'm down with that. No, but you can't be down with that. It's not good enough in New York City to be down with that and want to actually do the job. You have to find a principal of a public school to nominate you. Now, I've never been nominated, so I don't know what that is, but my assumption is if a principal needs to nominate you to work in public school, my assumption is that this principal is vouching for you as someone who is a forwarder of education in a school system, and they wouldn't hire just anybody. So you can see where I might not be a person who thinks, oh, well, this principal's going to accept me. So I took it to the floor, the waiter floor, when I was serving food. Because, judging by all those tips that were less than $4, I know I get a bunch of teachers in there. I know I get that. And you can tell by the way they look, And you can tell by the amount of wine they drink at 4:25 in the afternoon. So I'm asking, and all these women, they're teachers and paras. So they're like, you ain't getting in on my hustle, So eventually, this lady told me, she's like, my niece does it. She does it through a temp agency. So I contacted said temp agency. I got interviewed, and it only took about 90 minutes. They gave me a certificate. They said, go get your fingerprints. Got my fingerprints. Haven't been charged with any crimes. So now I'm a para in a Catholic school. Hebrew. I am a Hebrew who works in a Catholic school. I'm a Hebrew school dropout who works in a Catholic school. Surrounded by Trump supporters. Making $13 an hour. It's not the dream job I was hoping for. So I'm very reluctant. I don't want to do it. I want to, work at a cat shelter. I'll hold up one of those Liberty tax signs for the next 3 months. My cousin's got a potato chip route, but he's probably going to be unsufferable now that he's engaged. Insufferable, excuse me. All right. So that's reluctant paraprofessional. For all those who don't want to take the time to listen to the Jay Porks podcast, the podcast that I have 208 episodes in the bag for, the podcast that I cut my teeth on, that I live and die for, if you guys don't want to sit down and listen to that for an hour and actually hear things about my life, okay, so I hit you with that really fast. Now you know what reluctant paraprofessional means. Okay. This is normal caffeinated coffee today. So I shouldn't be up the rails. So all week I've been taking notes. Because now I got 2 podcasts. So it used to be I have to find music news. And, if that's hard for me to do, that's not, a good thing if I'm sitting there trying to stretch things. So then when I broke up, my main concern is when I broke up the podcast, is that I was going to run out of things. Like, I was going to have a 20-minute podcast on Friday, and it was going to take away from my around an hour-long podcast on the weekend that comes out on Monday. I underestimated the news cycle, my friends. I underestimated bigly. So let's talk about it. We're going to talk about Republican conspiracy theories today. That's right. Okay, now, here's the thing. As much as I'm down with conspiracy theories such as the moon and the Warren Commission and stuff like that, and and America actually, and the military actually helping this opioid crisis become more of a crisis, not less of one. There are all sorts of conspiracy theories out there. But this week, Republicans are out and about with a bunch of things trying to discredit the special counsel Robert Mueller. Now, if you're wondering, hey Jay, what's this Trump and Russia? What is going on? Well, I'm sorry. You need to listen to Jay Park's podcast for that, because the Russia probe is the main, the meat of the Jay Park's podcast these days, because it's so fascinating how willingly people are to break the law and how easily they think that they can do it. And it's weird that, like, the guy who holds the highest office in the land thinks he can push around investigators like they're building inspectors in Queens. That's not how this works. It's the federal government. So we've had a smear campaign against the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, who since 2001, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, their main thing since 2001, since some planes flew into buildings, if you want to talk about more conspiracies, that's one I'm not going to talk about. Since 2001, the FBI's main job has been counterintelligence, been, keeping us safe from those terrorists you people think are already in the country. Counterintelligence stuff, helping stop foreign governments attack us, helping stop us get terrorized and stuff, right? The federal, and let me just preface this by saying that I'm not a convict, but I never thought that I'd be at 31 years old defending the FBI. I'm a lawbreaker. I mean, listen, I can count them on my hands, but I break laws regularly, and I am not a fan of authority or authoritarian governments, like America, but like America now, not America as a whole. Like America in the fascist regime. So let's go to my little notepad, because I got notes. Like, I was doing notes, and I had subcategories, and I actually was able to get the FBI in its own subcategory. Got a takedown of the FBI. Release the memo. Devin Nunes drafted a memo that nobody knows what's in it. Right? People have seen bits and pieces, and Russian bots and conservative people have been tweeting it with the hashtag release the memo. No one even knows what's in this memo. Okay? Now, there are members of the committee that want the memo released, Democratic and Republican, but the Justice Department sent a letter to the committee chair, Devin Nunes, and said, if you release this memo without review from the Justice Department, it can have serious consequences. Like, it's extremely dangerous. Reckless is the word they use. It's extremely reckless. Devin Nunes has been trying to undermine this investigation since he was running through the lawn at the White House after dark, slipping Donnie the info about the Russia investigation. So he had Trey Gowdy, Ron Johnson. They're like, Trey Gowdy, he's like, his head is a square. Like, I don't know. His head is like a cube. Like when you draw those cubes, like, the three-dimensional thing. That's his head. I know humans are three-dimensional, but go with it. So, they held a press conference talking about not release the memo. They were talking about we moved on to the secret society, which is probably the funniest thing to happen this week. The secret society. So it turns out there were two FBI agents, Stroke and Page, right? Now, on Fox News, they would say his mistress. It's not his mistress. They're romantically involved. I wouldn't use the term mistress like past 1918. I mean, I don't know. Mistress? It's such a 1950s term. I guess that's Republican ideology. Trey Gowdy, Mike Pence, these are Republicans. They look like they're from 1950. They look like they're right from Mad Men, without the cool colored coats. Suit coats, not actual coats. So they were texting each other. So somehow the FBI got these texts, right? So the committee has these texts, and they say, are you even going to hand out calendars? Maybe this will be the first meeting of the secret society. And Republicans jumped on that. Deep state, secret society, see? They're going to undermine the presidency. They're going to take him out. If they were going to take him out, he would have been taken out, because the FBI does the surveillance. They know all they need to know. You know? So Stroke and Page were dating. Well, they were messing around. Whatever. That's none of our business. They were sending texts to each other because they're friends. They also had disparaging texts against Hillary Clinton. But those aren't in the news. Well, maybe because Hillary Clinton's not the president. And, that of which I can understand why she wouldn't be in the news. Secret Society. Ron Johnson will have an informant inside the FBI. Not inside the FBI. He said he has an informant. There's a whistleblower telling him that there were meetings that took place off-site. Off-site? I mean, I know that there's an FBI headquarters, but, they do interviews all over the place. They're the FBI. If they come to your house and they raid your house, were they working off-site? That's not the FBI headquarters. This is just a layman laying this out. A layman is... I'm telling you that the Federal Bureau of Investigation isn't overreaching. And that's somebody who thinks that the cops overreach all the time. Cops are shooting kids, not getting prosecuted for it. That's not the FBI, all right? The FBI are not the NYPD. The FBI is like Mulder and Scully, And who doesn't love Mulder and Scully? Secret Society. So it turns out, in the Secret Society texts, there was thousands of missing emails. Thousands of missing text messages. At the same time the Secret Society text came up. So of course, Deep State, they're gonna take over. It's gonna be martial law. Let me explain to you what happened. In technology terms, the FBI switched to Samsung, so it took them a minute to get the texts. They got them now, and it affected thousands of agents, not just the two that didn't like Trump. Strike! So now, release the memo. Release the memo is reckless, according to the Republican Justice Department. The Secret Society, Ron Johnson now acknowledges, may have been a joke. May have been a joke? Yeah, because I don't mean to steal every political pundit's joke now, but if there was a secret society, would we call it the Secret Society? I don't... Hold on, let me text my friend. Hey, are you coming by with that sweet marijuana cannabis right now? That's not what you do. It's not real. Anyone who's trying to be covert. And, the FBI knows a little something about covert ops. They're the FBI. It's the undermining of the FBI is a direct attack on anything Mueller finds in relation to Russia, hacking, meddling, money laundering, collusion, obstruction. They're laying the foundation for what? When the obstruction charge gets hit, they're gonna say, what? Oh, Deep State. Deep State's coming to get me. First it was on, think about this. Think about since the investigation, since Russia was even mentioned, we've had unmasking, wiretapping, secret society. These are all schemes by Republicans that are nothing. That they are nothing burgers. They just try to change the narrative. Because Mueller's closing in. And we will get to the report that Mueller was ordered to be fired by Trump. We'll get to that on the Jay Parks podcast coming up after the weekend. So the Republicans trying to undermine efforts by Robert Mueller and his team. It's at this point, at first, when Trump was like inaugurated and stuff, Republicans were like, okay, we're gonna check him. We're gonna like make sure he doesn't do anything crazy because we're normal and we care about our brand. We're Republicans. We need to get reelected. Then they cut taxes. So now all these Republicans are like, oh, I'm just not gonna run for reelection, and they're just gonna cash out on these tax cuts and keep their mouths shut. They're complicit in the downfall of America. And there's no excuses for that. There's no excuses for anybody serving in Congress, anybody who is an American citizen, who loves America, to sit there and be complicit in the takedown of American institutions. The FBI. Are you kidding me? This is a guy who thinks that this is a building inspector in Queens. Thinks it's the health inspector at, Trump Soho or whatever. That's not what this is. That's never what this was. This is a hateful person whose policies are dangerous. Speaking of his policies, this week we are going to tune it out. Not tune it out, but we are not going to focus on the news media. Listen, I'm an MSNBC head. I'm aware that MSNBC is like the Fox News of the left. I'm aware of that. That's fine with me. But all week, they're going to be doing this state of the fascism. And that's not something I could put up with. So next week, we're going to be seeing a lot of digging by me into more stuff having to do with Russia, having to do with money laundering, because I can't turn on the news for this. I can't sit there and watch people treat this like this is something that's normal. This is not normal. And if these tax cuts, giving money to all these big corporations, if you don't see that yet, if you don't notice yet that the only people getting rich are rich people, then, just pay attention a little more and you'll see. Because I checked my paycheck this week. I didn't see my $18. Where is my $18 that I was told that I would get? I thought they cut taxes. What happened to that? And I just got one of my W-2s. I thought it was coming on a postcard. What happened? Are you meaning to tell me that Republicans lied to me? Oh, I mean, really. So this week's State of the Union, so we're not doing that. I have homework for you. Dyze in your house homework. I know I'm running long. We have homework on Dyze in your house this week. Just do this for me. Because you love me, right? Do this for me. And maybe we'll come back on Monday with it a little bit. Look into Newsweek and when they got raided by the federal government recently. Newsweek had their offices raided in connection with some sort of money laundering operation. That's fine. Whatever. I mean, it's not fine. It's against the law. But that's not the crux of this. The crux of this is, why are only conservative sites like the New York Post, why are they the only ones reporting on this? Why are they the only ones who kind of keep bringing this to light? Because really, it's a newspaper company, and what is Newsweek broken? I mean, does Maggie Haberman work there? I know. Listen, we all know what the New York Times does. The New York Times breaks stories. They give Trump a fluff piece so they can keep access with him. I understand that. And that's why you take everything out of the New York Times ain't exactly the Washington Post, folks. It's not exactly WAPO. So we're going to ignore this. We're going to ignore the State of the Union. Because the State of the Union's not good. It's not normal. It's not normal. J Porks, Dyze in your house.